Less than 2 weeks ago, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo riding high, having just won his party's primary for re-election and doing so, frankly, handily. Tonight, his former top aide, Joe Percoco, a man at one time so close to the Cuomo family, Mario Cuomo would refer to him as the third Cuomo son. Well, Joe Percoco was sentenced to 6 years in prison today after his conviction on federal corruption charges. For the details, let's bring in now the man who's been covering this case since day one, our own Dominic.
And good evening to you, Richard. Another shoe has dropped. The prosecutors had asked for 5 years in prison, but Judge Caproni came back with 6 years for Joe Percoco. A tough day in court?
It was a difficult day and a sad day.
The time behind bars is even tougher than what prosecutors had asked for. Federal Judge Valerie Caproni declared, quote, "I hope this sentence will be heard in Albany." The message was not just for Joe Percoco, who in March was found guilty of accepting $300,000 in bribes, but for all politicians who abuse the public trust. And sentencing Percoco to 6 years in prison, when prosecutors had only asked for 5 years, Judge Caproni said, "I see the motive for this crime as greed and arrogance." Percoco briefly addressed the court and said, "I want to express how sorry I am for my actions, things I could have done differently." But the judge that has presided over several public corruption cases even took issue with the letter Percoco recently sent her apologizing. Judge Caproni asked Percoco's lawyer, is he remorseful for his crime? Or, quote, is he remorseful for getting caught?
I think the letter speaks for itself. Mr. Percoco is remorseful, not to an extent that satisfies the government, but there wasn't much about Mr. Percoco that satisfied them in this case.
As he left, Percoco was not doing much talking. Anything, Mr. Percoco?
Come on, Dominic, you're a smart reporter. I told you 3 times.
So nothing at all?
I have nothing to say. Barry did all the talking, but thank you.
U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Berman echoed what Judge Caproni said, quote, "The sentence sends a strong message that public officials who violate their duties will be held accountable for their corrupt actions." So, Richard, Percoco is appealing, and he has until December 28th to report to prison. The judge has permitted him to have time to spend the holidays with his wife and 2 daughters. The judge has also said, Richard, that she will recommend Otisville Federal Penitentiary here in New York State, about an hour and a half from here in Manhattan. Now, that might sound familiar, and connect the irony here, Richard. Otisville is the same prison that former Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver is looking to go to. So Percoco and Silver may be in the same prison at the same time. Reporting from Lower Manhattan, I'm Dominic Carter. Richard, let's go back to you in the studio.
Completely surreal. Dominic, great job. Thank you very much. When we come back, the fight over standards in some New York religious schools. Have political deals softened the rules so much the students are graduating not ready for the real world? We'll investigate right after this.